more than 50% of every small business in this country either doesn't sell or they sell for a price that the sellers are unhappy with, dissatisfied with. And the reason for that is they're unprepared to sell. And it's the lack of objectivity, it's the lack of clarity, it's the lack of understanding by the sellers to try to create and position their company in a way that buyers are going to find desirable. So depending upon what research reports you look at, there's about 6.4 million businesses in this country. More than 3 million of those companies are owned by families, just like yours. Those businesses have to transact. We know that, right? Because we're all getting older, owners get fatigued. We talked about the must sell versus the have to sell. Of those 3 million plus businesses, the experts are projecting that only 1 in 10 will have a successful exit. The problem is most of the sellers, they know how to run their business, they don't know how to sell their business. This really is a situation where you don't know what you don't know. You know how to run your business, but you don't know how to sell your business. What Growth to Exit does is we give you the tools. It's really as simple as that. There is a process to sell your business. There's a way to present the company, make it look and talk and feel and present like a buyer wants to buy it. This is no different than your product, your service. You've spent your life working on your company to try to make it as desirable as possible to your customers. Think about this as a process to develop a customer in the form of a buyer. You want to take your company and present it in the light most favorable. So instead of selling a product or a service, your company is your product or your service. That's what you're selling. And you're selling that to a buyer no different than your existing business in a process that's different than what you do. Growth to Exit, we provide you with the tools, the skills, the education. We answer the questions so that a buyer has confidence that they're buying exactly what you're telling them you're selling. Part of this process, buyers are constantly evaluating whether a seller has to sell or whether a seller wants to sell. If they recognize that a seller wants to sell, usually does not erode the price of the business, right? Because the buyer knows that there's no circumstances that force a quick close. It's the sellers that have to sell that the buyers will try to take advantage of. It's just the way the process works. Sellers want to sell high, buyers want to buy low. And if a buyer figures out that a seller has to sell, they're going to offer less money for the company. We can still help. Part of the Growth to Exit process, even if there's a shorter timeline, even if the seller has to sell, part of the Growth to Exit process is getting your company ready so that a buyer cannot take advantage of the fact that you have to sell. Sometimes we can get through negotiations so that a buyer never figures out that a seller has to sell. Even if a buyer figures it out, the seller will be prepared through the process so that the buyer cannot take advantage of the fact that you have to sell by reducing the price. So the Growth to Exit tools. You've filled out the forms, you've completed the process, you've answered the questions, you feel like you're ready to go to market, you're ready to go sell your company. A lot of sellers will decide they want to do it on their own. They feel like they're now equipped to manage the process, negotiate with the buyer, get the right price for the business. A lot of the sellers at this point decide, I think I need some help. I need to hire a lawyer, I need to hire a CPA, I need to hire a broker to help me through the process. Using our tools, using our forms, using the Growth to Exit process, whether you do it yourself or hire professionals, gives you all the tools and information you need to go through the process.